All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm here with our sister Destiny, Quanisha, also known as Sister Destiny. We have doula Bobette will be joining us any moment now, and another sister, Maryjane, who will also be joining us. She is a first-time mom and just delivered a baby here, so she's going to come on and tell us about her experience. Oh, there's Maryjane. There, Maryjane. Maryjane, can you hear me? Uh, did you give the StreamYard access to your mic and camera? Because we're not hearing you. Good morning, Yusuf. And all right, while we wait for Maryjane to get her stuff um, set up or connected, I don't know what's going on with it. Hello, Strawberry 32. Give me a second. Let me see what's going on with Maryjane. That's Bobette. Oh, okay, Doula Bobette is with us. Good morning, Bobette. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for waiting.
No problem. No
I'm
problem.
doing very well. How are you?
I'm fine.
Hello.
So for now, let me get everybody to mute the mic. So
Hello.
if you have background noise, mute your mic for now. Okay. So she's dropped off. Maybe she'll come back. Okay, there she is. All right. So I'm bringing this show today because while it doesn't necessarily pertain to me, because my baby making days are behind me. I'm done. Okay. But we do have a lot of younger brothers and sisters who are coming here and who are, starting families and having babies still. And I did a video some time ago about uh, the medical, what I witnessed in the hospitals and stuff here in Ghana, which wasn't a positive experience. When I had a few people who had traveled here and had become sick with COVID, and I had to be in the hospital with people, and I wasn't liking what I was seeing. But to be in the hospital and deliver a baby is a different experience. So I wanted to bring um, our sisters on to talk about their experience. Sister Bobette, was this your first? Was Maryjane's case your first doula case here in the country in Ghana?
Yes, this was my first birth in Ghana. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Maryjane delivered my godson a few weeks ago, and Bobette was the doula. Bobette is from Canada. I will let her tell you a little bit about herself and what a doula does. And then at an event I had, she met Maryjane, who was, you know, at that time, what, about 7 months pregnant at that time, I think. And so they connected. And when Maryjane went into labor,
Yes, about
Bobette
that time.
Bobette was her doula. So please introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a doula. What is a doula?
All right, with pleasure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Sister Ya, and this time even more because being a doula is my passion, and I absolutely love sharing birth stories. So my name is Bobette. I am originally born in Congo, I spent 30 years in Belgium. Then I spent 10 years in Canada. And now I'm here in Ghana since 4 months. I have been a doula for about 10 years, mainly in Canada. That's where I picked up the studies. In Belgium, I did study midwifery for 2 years. I didn't finish these studies because there was so much racism going on in the hospitals. And also back then, that was a long time ago. Back then, the midwives weren't allowed to do a birth on their own. They had to wait for the gynecologist or doctor to come in. So I wasn't really comfortable with that. My plan has always been to be a midwife or a birth attendant in Africa. So when I moved to Canada, I studied to become a doula. I got the degree, and so now I'm here. Birthing is my absolute
Okay.
passion. And a doula is simply said a person who guides a mother, but also the husband, so the future parents, through their pregnancy, birth, and even after birth. So my role is really to empower women and husbands to know everything about a birth. So I'm not pro anything. When I have a client, I have to be as neutral as possible and teach them all the pros and cons of whatever decision they're making for their pregnancy and their birth. Because I always say the hospital policy is not the law. And when people get pregnant for the first time or even second time, they don't always know their rights. They don't always know what to expect, what to do. So I'm there mentally and physically for the people. I always have consultations right before they have to go to the hospital or right before they meet their midwife, for example. And then my job is really to teach them about all their options, to make a birth plan with them, and to make sure that plan is respected to the best of my abilities.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. And
Yeah.
so again, you had your first birth here with Mary Jane, who was there. Um, so tell us how you met Mary Jane.
Can you repeat the question?
You want to give us a little background on how you met Mary Jane?
I'm missing bits and pieces because the connection seems to be okay. Well, I have to thank you for that because I met Maryjane in November in Accra, in Ghana, during one of your events. She was absolutely wonderful. We had the opportunity to introduce ourselves. So I mentioned that I was a doula, and then she happened to be there, and she was starting her last trimester, so the third one. And I came up to her, I introduced myself. She just had this beautiful glow and this nice vibe. So we decided to stay in touch. And then one day she just told me that she told her gynecologist that I'm her doula. I didn't even know that she actually wanted me as her doula, but that was fine. And then that's how I became her doula, and that's how we started working together.
Okay. So, Mary Jane, can you unmute yourself and let us know why you decided that you wanted to have a doula present at your birthing process?
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, my dear.
Uh, it's a pleasure to be here, amongst all these beautiful women. And I'm so glad to be a mother. It's super exciting, and I'm so happy embracing motherhood. For those who don't know me, well, my name is Mary Jane. Let me reintroduce myself. And I I I picked this beautiful lady, Bobette, the doula, as my doula. I actually didn't know anything about doula. It was my first time hearing that this is what a doula is, and that's what a doula is. So, as always coming to your events, Sister here is my beloved sis. from another mother, and she's the godson of my son. And I met her also through my husband, and she's been beautiful. She's a beloved mother. She's a family, and I appreciate her for these events that she's always putting up. Because without those events, I don't think I would have met Babette. So when I met Bobette, she introduced herself, told me what she does. Like, in this, when we go to these events, we introduce ourselves and say, this is what we do, this is what we do. And so everybody have an opportunity to just, meet each other, and, involve with each other, and just, communicate and build this relationship, build a community. And that's what that event is all about. And I'm blessed to be there as at that period of time. I was 7 months gone, and I'm so round, and oh my God. Well, I was able to get out to come for this event, and God willing, the universe has always blessed me somehow during that pregnancy, because I just meet people, and they are there to help me with this pregnancy. So when I met Babette, she introduced herself, and I was like, wow, I had to go home and do my own personal research. I discussed with my husband, Muhammad Hadi. He was like, yeah, I know what a doula is. I said, yeah, I met this beautiful lady. She was so nice. Uh, this is what she does. And he's like, yes, I support it 100%. I think you will need somebody who can advocate for you, because this is Africa, and it's my first time having a child. And then my parents don't live here in Ghana, and so it will be very difficult for me to just go around by myself in the hospital. Although I've been going to the hospital, we'll get to that part, and it's another story entirely. We'll get to the part. So, but when me and Bobette spoke, and we set up an appointment for another date, which she gave me a thorough education about all the things that I need to know, such as birth plan, what to do, what not to do, the do's and don'ts, what I would like. And, it's all what I want to do with myself. Respecting my opinion, my options needs to be protected. And that was when I was like, yes, I'm ready for this. So that was how I just met Babette.
So can I ask you, did you and Bobette ever visit the hospital together prior to delivery?
Oh yes. Um, my next appointment was after I met Babette, or before we had the meeting. So I was there with my husband, and I spoke to my gynecologist, my OB. I told him I'm going to have my doula come in, so that they can meet each other, and he can, they can work together when I'm about to have the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just whenever I bring an option, he's always like, no, why don't you do this, why don't you do that, why don't you do this?
Mm-hmm.
So when I suggested the doula, he said, oh, why would you need a doula? The midwives are here to
Mm-hmm.
assist you and all. And I said, for some reason, I was about mentioning his name, but anyway, that's just by the way. I said, hello, please. I'm not really getting, it's my first time, but I'm not really getting audience from these women. I literally have to chase them, like you, I, they, they've introduced us together. Like he will call them to his office and say, this is Mrs. Maryjane Hadi. Please attend to her whenever she comes, or we'll exchange our numbers, and then I will be the one following up and saying hello, how you doing? You know,
So,
like
so they were never calling to check on you or anything like that.
exactly. So I was more like they were more like my patients.
Yeah.
So that was the reason why. So when he said that you will need a doula, and I said no, I will need a doula because I constantly be chasing the midwives. And he said because he gave me two,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel like I need two. I just need one person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried one first, and then when it didn't work, I was just like, okay, okay. So that was when the opportunity came, and I told him about the doula, and he said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I explained the reason why I would need that, then he said, okay. You
Okay.
know, he then accepted. But first, he said I wouldn't need a doula.
Okay.
But when
All
I
right.
further
But you
explained,
stood your ground and insisted, and then he
then
accepted.
yep, yep.
Okay. So did can you so when you took Bobette there to meet them, did they receive her well? Did they accept her presence there?
Oh, yes, they did. He did actually.
Okay.
He because of what explained to him earlier, he didn't hesitate anymore. You
Okay.
know,
And how were the
he
midwives with her? Were they okay?
the midwife, they were kind of shocked. One of them that was showing us the room, I saw the expression of her. She was, you know, when the man went to him and said, "Oh, this is Maryjane's doula," she asked, "What is a doula?" She said that in the dialect because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people don't think that I do understand the dialect. I do a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm a full away woman, and but I do understand Chewy a little bit. So she
Uh-huh.
said, She said, "What's the doula?" Then he has to explain, and then after he explained, then he said, "Okay," because
Mm-hmm.
what the meeting, the midwife was to show us around the rooms because we have already had the meeting
Mm-hmm.
done with the gynecologist in his office. So
Okay.
the midwife was to show us the rooms and
Mm-hmm.
also the labor room. As
Okay.
per the
Okay.
conversation we just finished having with him.
All
So
right. So, Babette, let me come back to you. So, you visited the hospital, you got to see the facilities before delivery, correct?
Yes, I did visit the hospital a few times together with Maryjane.
And what was your opinion about the facilities? What was your opinion about it?
Honestly, after the first visit, so I met the gynecologist first. He seemed to be pretty open, but at the same time, I could feel a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? He tried to intimidate me just a few times. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but I could feel that he didn't necessarily appreciated my presence because it made him question himself. So, I stayed polite. I stayed very, I asked a few questions that I knew the answer to, but I wanted Maryjane to hear it as well. And I did notice also that there was a lack of information. There's so many things that Maryjane could have done, or especially around the end of the pregnancy, for example, to start labor, that he just wasn't showing or he wasn't sharing with her. So I was asking him a lot of questions just so that she would hear it from him as well. So that was
Well,
one point. During the second appointment, yes, go ahead.
no, I was going to just add that I could tell too, because during the pregnancy, I also was talking to her a lot as somebody who had, has delivered five babies, and it was a lot that, they just wasn't educating her as a new mother, and having to tell her things that I would have thought that her doctors and midwives would have talked to her about. big ups to Maryjane and her husband. Her husband is an American, um, but they did a lot of, going online and looking things up. And even when I would talk to her and say, okay, you can expect this, this is what's going to happen. And they would, okay. And then they would go look it up. You know what I'm saying? But they weren't getting very much information from the midwives and the doctors is what I could tell.
Yes,
Right,
I felt the
right.
same
Um, like for instance, I never had a
way.
class. Like we never had a prenatal class. Like I never see every woman in a hall with a doctor or with a midwife lecturing them. For instance, this is how you breastfeed. For instance, this is it should be a general class. Instead, it will just be individual, and they're asking, "How you feeling today? How do you feel this week? Um, okay. Are you taking your medications? Okay. This is how this goes. This is how this. I was expecting that there will be a lot of women there. Then we have a conversation and they show us how to breastfeed, or they tell us this is how to breastfeed. This is what you expect. This is what you should do. What stuff like you can do more exercise. I have to literally ask them, can I do exercise? You know, I have to ask some questions. Can I eat this kind of food? Can I? And there was this time this lady was like, "Oh, do not eat spicy meal." But I've been eating spicy meal and nothing is going on. And I mean, it's just I wasn't getting any information. The only person who tried to give me information is the gynecologist, and I visit him once a month. But when it was getting closer, then he has to make me see him like every other week. But the
Mm-hmm.
midwives, they weren't helpful at all, and there was
Okay.
no classes. And now I feel, I know there should be a class, but then when I didn't see that, I kind of feel very disappointed.
In this
You know,
particular
so
hospital, we're not
that
going to say the name of it, but this particular hospital, this is supposed to be their specialty. Is that not correct? Their fertility and
right,
yeah.
right. So there's a
Hmm.
fertility center. That's what they
Hmm.
specialize in. Um, it's more like they take care of pregnant women and kids. That's what they do.
Hmm.
It's not like um, they specialize in anything else.
Right, right. Okay, so let me jump to Sister Quenisha real quick. Quenisha, you are here. You're from California, and you married to a Ghanaian brother, and you had a baby here. Is that? But you're not a first time mom. You've had other children, but this is your first time having a baby here in Ghana, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let me ask you, the standard of care that you received here compared to previously delivering your children in the States, can you talk about the differences?
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a big the quality of care in the U.S. compared to here is a big difference. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would have preferred to have my child in the, and that's just my personal experience. And the reason why that is because I went to two different hospitals. I went to a private facility, and then I also went to a government facility, which is a teaching hospital in the central region. And then the private facility was in East Legon. So I received treatment from different facilities, and they're both the same, whether it's private or government, they both the same. As a matter of fact, I received better treatment at the teaching hospital more than I uh, more than I did at the private facility, because the private facility was really offering the services that I used to be able to receive when I was in the US. As a matter of fact, I had to even encourage the doctor at the private facility to render certain services to me whilst I was pregnant to make sure that the baby would be okay and that I would be okay. And he was saying that they don't really do that with the pregnant women and stuff like that. And I said, how come? Because that's part of, the medical checkup. That should be part of, the service rendered to them to make sure they're okay. So to me, I would have preferred to have my child in the U.S. at the hospitals there. Had even, it wasn't for COVID-19 and all that, I most likely would have went to America to have my baby. Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about, like, okay, can you give us some examples of the difference? Like when you were delivering your baby, you were in labor, what are some of the differences that you experienced as having the baby in the States, or some of the care that was given to you versus here? Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like give us some examples of things that you, while you were in labor, that you just didn't like, it didn't sit well with you. Quanisha, can you hear me? Look like she's frozen. Okay, we'll come back to her. Bobette, can you talk about the day that she went into labor? There's a point that I want to get out. You and Maryjane
Yes,
told
yes,
me
yes. First, I would like to say that.
I want you all to talk about the trip that you made.
Sorry, I
and
didn't
how
mean to
they
interrupt
showed
you. Go ahead.
I want you to talk about, what y'all told me in terms of when you went there to tour the facilities versus what you actually encountered when she went into labor.
Yes, yes. Well, that's a big one because we did visit hospital. I think it was even the gynecologist who showed us around. I'm not sure, but we saw the labor room. We saw the room where she would. It was a new. They had just built that area in the hospital, so it was still brand new, very clean, very nice. We met different midwives. We spoke to the people in the pharmacy. Anyway, I went home feeling really good about that place. And I even told my husband, if I ever end up in a hospital, I wouldn't mind going there. However, when she called me at 2 o'clock at night saying that she was heading towards the hospital and that she wanted me to come, I came. And the first thing I noticed is that there was no staff. I understand it's late at night, but you still a private hospital and there should still be people working. So meaning that there was still pads with bloods. Mary Jane was doing absolutely amazing. Like she's one of the strongest women I know, especially for having a first baby without epidural, without any pain relief. She was doing great. She was in her room. She was managing the contraction. She was doing great. Her mother was there, and her husband Mohammed was there as well. And I just noticed that there wasn't a lot of staff. So at a certain point, she felt like she needed, and we walked into the doctor's office, which was really, really strange to me because it was not the room that was shown to us. It wasn't the room that was shown to us when we had visited previously. So this was just the doctor's office, the same bed where he checks on patient, was the bed where she gave birth. And it was a bit of a horror scene because a mother had just given birth there and they hadn't cleaned up the room yet. So
So wait a
meaning
minute.
that
So
there
let
was
us be
still
clear.
pads
Let me
with
be clear.
bloods.
So you're saying that they took her into the doctor's office, not a birthing room, but the doctor's office to deliver her baby, where they had just delivered another woman's baby and they had not cleaned up anything. But they brought her in there.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's disgusting.
Even worse, even worse, she felt like pushing. She felt like pushing, and I learned on the spot that every mother has to bring her own material. So those blue and white cotton pads where they labor on, she had to bring her own, which was very surprising to me because, I'm from Canada, Belgium. We walk in there empty-handed and we walk out with a baby. So well, I didn't think about that, and for whatever reason, we had forgotten her stuff in her room. One of the midwives actually told her to just lay down on the pad that was filled with blood from the previous woman because we didn't have pads right there. So,
No.
yeah, which was
Hey,
totally unacceptable. Yeah.
Mary Jane. Mary Jane, oh.
Yeah, so Mary Jane is the one who kicked it away. I believe that her mother ran to her room and came back.
Mary
Hmm.
Jane. So these
Yes,
people asked you
yes,
to
You can
yes.
lay
continue,
down
Mary
on
Jane.
these people. First of all, you had to bring your own bedding and pads and everything. And
Yes,
then
yes,
these people ask you to lay down on a dirty bed where somebody has just delivered a baby before you.
right.
And this is a private
Well,
hospital, correct?
right. Well, what was so shocking to me was the fact that they gave me a list to bring all these things, and they know where my room is because I paid for a room where I can stay with my baby after the birth of the child, and they know that I have my luggages there. And so when I was ready to push, because I expect that somebody should just be like, "Oh, where's the bag for all the things over the list that we asked you to bring?" So when I was really, because I was right there, I had the urge to push. I stood up from my bed and I had that last contraction, and I was like, it's about to drop. Like I can feel it. So I managed to work in the labor room. Like she said, the labor room is the same place I've been having meetings, countless meetings with my gynecologist for several months. So it's kind of weird to me because the last time I checked, they told me that somebody is using up the labor room. That's why I can see it that very day. But they showed me the rooms they had. So I kind of just let that go. And even that day when they showed me the room, there was no what's it called, bassinet in the room. And you know, Bobette was asking me where's the bassinet, and I was like, maybe they don't put it there. I didn't even bother to ask them. I mean, I think I made a mistake by not asking them because we'll come to that later anyway. Anyway, so to continue the long story, I was there, and this woman is asking me to lay on the bloody shit,
Mm.
and I was mad. I was so mad. I was so mad, and I used my hand and kicked that shit out.
Right.
And I dropped it wherever. I don't even know where I dropped it because I know there was
Hmm.
a trash there, and I know I'm not sleeping on somebody's blood.
Right.
So my mom brought the new shit, and I, I even helped them in laying it. We
Wait a
both
minute.
did. Yes, yes. So I was like, yeah, this is the clean shit, and so we can
Wait a minute.
spread it
So
now.
your
And
mom came from your room with your things to cover the
yes,
bed with, and you had to help the midwives fix the bed
yes,
before
yes.
you could
I
lay on.
right. So and so that was that scene right there. So and I can't forget about it. It's something that stuck in my head,
Of
you
course.
know. Yeah, and I,
Of
I
course.
just I just can't get out of my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm one person. I do not like to see blood. Even when I'm in my messes, I'm just
Hmm.
closing my eyes to change my pads.
Right.
So when I saw that, and she's asking me, "Can you just?"
Lay on it.
That disgusts me. That
Yeah.
really put me off.
Right. Right.
and I didn't like that at all.
Of course not. Of course not. So now, Bobette, now what happens after mom comes in with the things and y'all able to get the bed okay for her to? It's okay now for her to lay on it. Can you tell us from there what happens?
So Mary Jane was right. Like the baby was coming. He was right there. So from the moment we arrived to the hospital, I think her baby was born about an hour and a half. So we really didn't have to wait long. So she went to lie on the bed, and the midwife checked her. There were two midwives there, and I believe that those were the only two midwives at the hospital, because at the same time, while she's in labor, there was another woman down the hall in labor as well, and she couldn't manage the pains. There was something going on with her, but she was screaming really loud, and it was stressing out everyone. And I understood that it was the only labor room, in that whole hospital, and that woman wanted to come in to give birth as well. So there were two midwives there, like I said before, and they were under an immense pressure. I have so much respect for them. They made a few mistakes, but I believe that it's really because they were so much under pressure. So she went to lie down and they checked her. They said she was at 8 centimeters. I'm not sure if that's correct, because as soon as one midwife turned, the baby's head came out. So she was ready. She didn't even have to wait until she was 10
Yeah.
centimeters dilated like most women. So the baby's
Yeah.
head came out. I switched with Mohammed, her husband, who was he was standing next to her. I wanted him to see his son being born, so I switched with him and I went to stand next to Mary Jane. I believe that they caught the baby and he cut the baby and he cut the umbilical cord. At the same time, this other woman is in the hall screaming, yelling, like we didn't know what was going on. And then as soon as her baby was born, they started pulling on the cord, on the umbilical cord. They wanted that placenta out. And I believe that they were in a rush because the next woman had to give birth. And that's where they made a mistake. They were pulling so hard that they couldn't get the placenta out because it wasn't detached yet. So I had asked them if she could at least
Yeah.
hold the baby, because they had put the baby on the side. And we had asked for skin to skin, immediately skin to skin. Also, so maybe the baby can start sucking, so she could have more
Mm-hmm.
contractions. The contractions can continue, and the placenta can detach
Mm-hmm.
naturally. They didn't want that. They wanted the baby to stay on the side. So
Yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
they're pulling, and they gave me gloves. They gave me an apron, which I didn't want to wear because they needed help and they wanted me to deliver the placenta. Normally, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but in this case, it was so hard that the umbilical cord had broken and it started to bleed. So if I had
Dang.
pulled, I would have broken it
From
completely.
them
And that
pulling
was
on it.
my responsibility. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now the next mother is there still yelling down really in front of the behind the door. So we couldn't get rid of those noises. It was really stressful, the banging and the yelling on the door.
Right.
So then they
Right.
decided to give her medication. They decided to give her medication so that the placenta can detach. And I was asking them for time because when you give birth, I've been to unassisted births. I delivered babies by myself. I know it's supposed to do that, but if a parent wants that, then that's what I'm going to do. I have the knowledge to do so. So I know that a placenta can take some time before it's being delivered, and that's really all you need.
Exactly.
She had just given birth not even 1 minute ago.
Right. And they trying to
So,
force it
and she
out.
was also in pain because yeah, they forced it out. And Mary Jane, she's one of the strongest women I know, in the sense that she didn't scream during her contractions. She didn't scream when the baby came out. But when they started pulling on that cord, she started crying.
Yeah.
bones. Like the sound she was making, even her husband started insulting the people because he didn't know what was going on, and they were hurting his wife. She came in fine, and all of a sudden
Right.
she's in pain and there's no doctor. And they're talking about calling a doctor so the doctor can remove the placenta manually, which is when I panicked, because when you do that, first of all, it's extremely painful. And second of all, I noticed that it wasn't necessary. It wasn't even 50 minutes yet. Like, I was just
Right.
really upset because
Exactly.
we needed time. But I also understand at the same time, I understand. I'm not doing this to down talk what happened at the hospital, because those women were in a lot of stress. So what they did, they gave her medication. Unfortunately, one of the side effects of those medications, because they gave her a lot, they kept on upping the dose. One of the side effects is that you start shaking like really bad, and it's like an internal cold that you feel. There's no blanket that can warm you
Yeah.
up, there's no drink that can warm you up. It's really an internal cold that you just feel, and you just shaking helplessly. You
Yeah.
just can't, everything in
Yeah.
your body, every organ, every part of your body is shaking. So what she started shaking, unfortunately, she didn't know what was going on. Her husband didn't know what was going on. So he decided to, he just needed to cool down. And I totally understand him, because it was really, really scary for him. So they put her on the second bed, yes, so they put her on the second bed, and room for the next woman to come in. And that's when I noticed that there was no cleaning staff, because if there had been staff for cleaning, they would have cleaned the room before Mary Jane came in. So there's no cleaning staff, there's no doctor, there's no nurse.
Mhm.
Like, I was on his way. I was just praying that he would get there after the placenta was delivered. So I really wanted her to have more time. And then eventually she got the
Yeah.
time, I think about 15 minutes longer. I just refused because the cord was already broken, almost broken off, because when you cough, you're actually creating contractions. So she was coughing while the medicine was flowing without any pieces staying
Hmm.
inside, staying stuck, and everything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the story about the placenta.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo, man. I'm surprised my brother Muhammad wasn't slapping some folks over there. Yeah, I'm surprised Muhammad wasn't like Will Smith, just slapping the shit out of people. Woo! You see? Hey, it's a good thing. You know what? My bad. It's a good thing because when he told me, when I woke up, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. No, it was 3 o'clock, something like that. He told me she was in labor. And then I said, okay, as soon as I drop my son off at school, because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I have to drop him off by 7:30. I said, I'll be right over there. I'm thinking, she is. They just got to the hospital, and by the time I get there, but by the time I got my baby was already out, and Mary Jane was sitting up on the bed. I was like, girl, what? You better lay down. but I'll tell you what I saw when I got there. They had brought her a bassinet to put the baby in the bassinet. One of our friends, Stacy, was there and was having to clean off a bassinet. Told me they brought her a dirty bassinet to put her baby in. It was dusty. Can you imagine?
That's
So when I
ridiculous.
when I got there, they were cleaning off the bassinet and
Yeah,
brought
and
some.
that room wasn't cheap either.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, and there was no Mary Jane. Is it true that the bathroom didn't have running water?
Right, 100% right. Because I had a running stomach after, and I had to um, use have the bowel movement, and I went in there. I sat there, finished, what I had to do, and I tried to flush. And I was like, "What's going on here?"
Mhm.
There's no water coming out, and
Private hospital, no
and
running water.
there's no running water, and that's not the only thing. They have a whole lot of don'ts. I would really like to talk about, like the blood scheme scam. They will tell you you need blood. You will need a blood to whenever, because they think you might run out of blood or you might bleed out, and so you need blood. So they will ask you to pay like 350 for one. I don't know what they call it.
A paint of blood.
A pen would be like 350 CDs, and that you have to call this person, that person to get the blood whenever you need it. So
So
when we
yeah,
got to
that let me talk
so
about that. 'Cause my brother Muhammad called me and he was like, "Sis, do you know that this birthing hospital doesn't have blood on site? So you have to, they have to take a sample of your blood. He has to go somewhere, some blood bank, I guess. Give them the sample. They will determine what type of blood you need, and then but if you need the blood, you're bleeding out while somebody has to go to a different location to
all
try
right.
to get your blood type and bring it back to the hospital because they don't have any blood on site at the hospital. And I was like, ah, you know, all I could do, to calm him down because he was freaking out. I was like, listen, she's not going to need blood. When he was freaking out about the placenta, I said, listen, the placenta is going to come because it just like Bobette said, it just takes time. It will come. You know what I'm saying? So when I calmed him down on the placenta thing, then next thing I know, he's talking about the blood. He's thinking maybe they telling him he might have to go somewhere to a whole nother location, like
But
get in a car and travel somewhere to go somewhere else to get blood. And I was like, what?
yes, they told us we have to go to Amasama, and the hospital is around Achimota. So
Yeah, so
imagine the
that's a good
distance.
20-minute drive.
But I also feel like that's a scam scheme, because on that very day they told us, oh, several women are giving birth, so they didn't use their blood. So we might find a match of Maryjane in there. So just pay 350, and so she can use one of those. We'll check the blood. So he ended up paying the 350, and I didn't end up using the blood. So they say they will refund 150 CDs.
Why
So
only
they
150?
so they refunded only 150 CDs of the 350 they took after not using the blood. So that's a scam scheme
Yeah.
for me.
And you have to use your own vehicle and go to that place, and you have to go get the blood and bring the blood back.
It's
Can you
it, it,
imagine?
it,
Can y'all
it don't
imagine? Y'all hear what we saying? So,
it don't sound right. And for the staff, like she said, short staff, they are understaffed. There's no cleaner, there's no nurses, just two midwives. And when the placenta didn't come, they kept on calling this my gynecologist, and he kept on telling them he's on his way, he's on his way, he's on his way. The other guy in there, I don't know what he does, or if he's a nurse, a doctor, or midwife. I don't know who he. I had only seen him for the first time that day. He was the one prescribing these drugs that almost made me pass out,
mm,
because those drugs, they asked me to put one under my tongue. I think I made a mistake by not asking what the name of those drugs are. But yes, they had like four of those or six of those under my tongue, and that was making me shiver. Like,
mhm.
I was gnashing and shivering, and at that moment was when I just couldn't say nothing. I
Yeah.
couldn't open my mouth to say nothing. And these midwives, they were sitting down. One was on her phone, the other was going up and about. And Babette, I'm super glad she came in. I mean, I'm super glad I met her
Mm-hmm.
because my husband couldn't. He was going through a lot
Yeah.
as at that moment in time, and so I think he went outside for a minute, and
I'm
Bobette
glad
was
that.
right. Yeah,
Because I
Bobette
know
was
my
right.
brother. I know he wanted to slap somebody. I already know.
Yes, he was at that point. He was at
Yeah.
that point because he warned the doctor. He said, if anything happens to my wife, you not like what will happen to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And but then Babette was right beside me, and
Mm-hmm.
she held me and she asked me, "Are you okay? Do you feel better?" And I know maybe I feel like she can communicate with me even if I'm not saying anything. She could hear me,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't say anything. I was just shivering
Shaking. Yeah.
and yeah, shaking,
Mm-hmm.
and she held me, and
Mm-hmm.
she held me. She would hold on to my hand, and she was right there. And these
Mm-hmm.
nurses, they were in there, and I don't know if I would have been able to go through that period of time without Babette because she was
Mm-hmm.
right there. These
We
nurses,
thank
they were
our
just
sister Bobette. We thank you.
as
Thank you.
mhm.
Thank you, sis, for being there.
Yeah, she was there.
Mhm.
So, and then one other thing I would like to mention is the fact that when they moved me from that bed, the 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 bed when you where you put your legs
Deliver.
on the label bed. When they
Mm-hmm.
moved me, there was a scissors hanging under my thighs. I don't know where they had the scissors. The scissors was hanging. I can never ever forget that. That's traumatic. I
Some
can never
scissors.
forget. I don't know where the scissors was hanging, but I could feel and like an iron thing hanging, pulling me, and they were
Mm-hmm.
carrying me from that labor bed down to the other bed.
Mm-hmm.
Sis, that one is sickening. I can get my mind out of it. I'm trying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying, but when I have flashback on that, and I can't get it out of my head. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm praying that this should just go away.
Yeah.
That scissors was hanging like, I don't know, like
You don't know where
somebody,
those scissors came from.
I don't know, maybe they use it in holding something down, or I don't know what it is. Maybe people who like Babette or my husband could tell what it is.
Go ahead, Bobette.
Mhm. So it wasn't really a pair of scissors. It was more a tongue that they
Mm-hmm.
used. So they clamped the umbilical cord on it, and they used it to pull
Uh-huh.
the placenta out. One mistake that they made is that they clamped it way too close to the pubic area. So each time they were pulling, they were hurting her. They were hurting her really, really bad. So when they moved her to the bed, there was only two of
Oh.
them. So they moved her to the bed, and the
Yeah.
tongue was hanging out. It was heavy. It's all metal. So it was just extremely uncomfortable for her. And
Yeah. And it was
I
pulling.
had
Yeah.
to beg them to just leave it, to
Yeah.
give it some time. And there's a few things that I forgot to mention. So when they put her on the other bed, the next woman already came in, and they were like maybe 1 meter apart from each other. It's a very, very small room. So there's two women in a doctor's office. One just gave birth, the other one is about to push. Luckily, the room was already clean. Then we found out that there's no hot water or no water at all, no cold, no hot. And I saw that the midwives were cleaning off the baby. So they put on soap. It's also something that I recommend not to do immediately. At least give the baby a few hours because when they're born, they're actually born with some kind of cream that they have on their skin, which is really good, and you have to give the skin the time to absorb it. So anyway, they came with some kind of soap, and and then they dried the baby off with menstrual pads. So I didn't understand why they were doing that, because especially there's some menstrual pads that are really bad. They use bleach and stuff. That they were using menstrual pads to clean the baby and to clean Maryjane, her legs and her. I didn't understand. So I asked the midwife, why is she using that over, wipes or towels or. And she said because it absorbs better. It absorbs the water and the blood better. But I believe that I looked around and there was nothing there. There was literally nothing they could use to clean the baby or to clean Maryjane. So they used the menstrual pads that she brought. And then another thing, when the baby was just born, so they put the baby on the second bed, and then they asked the husband Mohammed to go to the pharmacy to buy something. I'm not sure exactly what he had to buy, because there were two things. One was for the umbilical cord, and the other one, I believe, was the vitamin K shot. Maryjane, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point he was fed up because he had already gone back and forth, making sure everything is okay for the baby. And then the baby's here, and you don't have the equipment to take care of them. So he had to go to the pharmacy, come back with one or two things before they could finish taking care of son and mother. And that was just, it was outrageous to me. Like they could even include that in
Well, that
whatever.
it is. It is outrageous because we know it's a cash and carry system, but you should at
Yes, go
least
ahead.
tell people up front that they're going to need this so that it's already there. Why wait until the baby is born and say, "Oh, tell a brand new dad his baby is
Exactly,
this good. You
exactly.
need to go and leave your wife and baby and go to the pharmacy and get this and that." It's I don't
And
know.
the way they do it is very, because it's like they commanding him. You have to do this. I'm like, because I can hear the conversation. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there should be a nurse on the side to do that, or
Mm,
there should be these things in the labor room,
yeah,
and then you can charge them. On the bill. But
yeah.
those things were in place, and
So they're
and that's
wiping off her brand new baby with some
yeah. So
pads
that
that she brought. So they don't even know anything about the quality of these pads. They don't know if it's got chemicals, bleach. They don't know, but they're wiping this brand new baby off with it.
yeah, yeah.
But then you
Why
said they were
did
also wiping her off with it. So they weren't prepared to wipe her off with anything. If she didn't have pads, then what?
And they even asked me to bring shaving stick, and I wonder why they didn't shave me. So they shaved the I mean the last shave I got was my husband. That was 2 weeks before then. So if my
Mm-hmm.
husband didn't shave me 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago, it would have been more longer hair, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
have shaved me, and they'll keep, they keep using whatever they were using to clinch that part, and it keeps clinching the air, and I keep going through pains and
Yeah.
severe pain, and I don't understand. The best experience I had was when I wanted to have the baby. It was when I pushed, and the midwife said, "Don't push anymore. You're done pushing, so that
Mm-hmm.
you won't get a tear." And then she managed, and she did what she had to do, and the knowledge she had to, bring the baby out. I was
Yeah.
super excited, and I was like,
Of
"Wow,
course.
is this how it happens?"
Yeah.
But when he was so beautiful, it was the most beautiful experience ever.
Yeah.
And my husband had taught me how to breathe, and I mean, that really, really helped me too. But then the last part was the placenta, and that wasn't even fair. You know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
didn't do no justice to the whole experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bobette, were you had anything else you want to talk about on add to the story? Because this is what I know. When she had the baby, nobody other than us who were there with her, me and Sister Stacy were none of the midwives were trying to teach her how to breastfeed her baby. You know what I mean? When this is something we know in America, when you have a baby, the nurses will work with you. They will be there every time, to encourage you to breastfeed the baby, show you how to hold the baby, everything, show you how to get the baby to latch on. Nobody was doing that for Maryjane other than her people that were there for her. None of the nurses, none of the midwives, nobody came to help her do that.
Nobody did.
Yeah,
Nobody did. Except when you came and showing me you have to put it. Yeah, Stacy was also showing me.
no, that's
Hmm. Go on.
She said, "Go ahead, Bobette."
oh yes. So no, the lack of mental support and is definitely something that I noticed at that hospital. I understand that they were understaffed and everything, but it really just looked like a fact. Woman comes in, goes out. Another baby is born out. Like there's no congratulations, how you're feeling. Make sure you hold your baby, do the skin to skin, the breastfeeding, taking your time. There was none of that. None of that was present. And I'm just what bothered me the most about the whole experience is not even how the hospital looked, but the fact that the gynecologist told her that they have everything under control and that she wouldn't need a doula. Like if she didn't have a doula, then I don't know how she would have come out of this situation because I wasn't even giving birth and I was shocked. Like both Mohammed and I, and her mother-in-law, we were all just shocked about what was happening. Like this was a different level. Like I've been in the field for 10 years. I've never seen anything like this. Anything. Like on one hand, there's sympathy for the midwives that were present, but if you're having a hospital, especially a private hospital, you should make sure that first of all, you're not understaffed, and second of all, all the material is there. Like don't call yourself a private hospital and don't charge all that money. Like what are what Mary Jane, what did you even pay for? What did you pay for? You could have had your baby at home without all the
So
pain of
basically, she
people
could have
trying to
had her
pull
baby
out
at
your.
home for what she got, for what she got. She really
Totally. She
could have
was in
delivered at home.
her own person. Totally, 100%. And I could have delivered that baby for her without a problem. Totally. She's the one who did all of the work. I prefer not to think about what would have happened if something serious went wrong, because there was nobody there who could have helped her. Nobody. No doctor, no nurse. No, it's unacceptable.
Mary Jane, did the gynecologist or did your doctor ever show up when he was saying he's on his way? He's on his way. Did he ever show up?
Well, sis, that's a whole another story. Well, he said he was gonna show up, and it took like 40 minutes, and he still hasn't showed up. And they had given me all the stuff, and now I could feel it inside that I was bleeding. So I called the nurse. Then I was able to speak, and I called the nurse. I said, "Come check me." So she came to check, and she was like, "Yeah, it's coming now." And so she managed to pull it out. Um, and that's after 40 minutes they called him.
But
So
did he eventually did at some point show up?
he showed up by 4 p.m.
Huh? You said 12 p.m.
4 p.m. 4 p.m. When I had the baby now
So
in my
4 p.m.
room.
the next day.
No,
Oh.
yeah, 4 p.m. like in the
So
evening
he
because
came after I left. After I left
yeah,
the hospital is when the
yes, yes, after
hey,
he
this
left.
man knows.
Yes, after he left, then he came to then he came to check me, and he says, "Oh, congratulations," and I said, "Thank you." And he was like, "How are you feeling? Are you still bleeding?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm still bleeding." and he checked the baby, and he said to me to lay down so he could check my tummy. Then he checked my tummy, and then then he was leaving, and I said, I would like to go home today, and he said, "Oh, really? Are you sure you're strong enough to go? Can you breastfeed the child?" And I said, "Why not? My mom is here. She's a mother of four." He said, "Oh, because I said, nobody's teaching me anything here."
Right.
So I would really like to go home. I feel better. I feel very okay, and I know I could do better at home. So
Right. Well, man, thank you both for coming on and telling your experience. Now, this is one hospital, but you heard our other sister. She wasn't able to come back because of her network, but it went to two different hospitals and two different places. Her say that the quality of care, she wished she'd have just went back to the States and had her baby. You know, I'm sorry that our sister Maryjane had to go through what she went through. But I'm very thankful that Sister Bobette was there with her and my brother Muhammad while they went through this. Some people say it sounds like a horror story. Yeah, exactly. It is. It is a horror story. I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine it. But mother and baby are okay. So if y'all see me around a crowd with a little one on my back, that's my godson. So his name is Zion, and Zion is okay. He's a beautiful, handsome little boy. Regardless of how the circumstances surrounding him getting here, he's a very, very handsome and healthy little boy. Brother Yusuf said that he's in Sierra Leone dealing with the same SHIT. Him and his wife are trying to have a baby, and he's like, "What's the least scariest way to get this done?" So, I, brother, I don't know. I don't even know what to say, because what Bobette and Maryjane say, what they presented to them is not what she got. So in the beginning, they both were very happy and comfortable with what they thought was going to be, her situation, and it turned out to be something completely different. So, even though this isn't, this is just one hospital, my thing is, even if you go to another hospital, how do we know that the quality of care is going to be any better if she had, say, went to a different private hospital? We don't know. This is private hospital where people are paying money for what she got. She could have just kept her money and went to government hospital or delivered her baby at home. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So, Bobette, please let people know how to contact you who are here in Ghana, who may need your services. Please let me put give you. What do you want? You have a website or something I can put up here for people?
Yes, absolutely. So I am currently working on my website, but people can find me on Instagram. Is it okay if we just put the link down later on?
I'd rather
I'll
put
leave
it on
my
the
information
screen
below the
now.
video. I also wanted to add. Okay.
And so if on Instagram,
Okay.
it's at what?
Let me send it to you. So there you go. I send it to you. My at name on Instagram is Uzuri Life.
Okay, I see it. Uzuri Life.
There
So
you
is
can find all my
so I have
work.
to put the
I will also
ampersand
put
sign.
my phone number.
Uzurife. Uzurife.
Sorry?
It's
Yes.
Uzurife.
U
Right?
Z U RILIFE.
Yes, Uzuri Life. And then your phone number?
My phone number. So for Ghana,
Plus
+233
+233. Uh-huh.
59 720 59
Mm-hmm.
720
Uh-huh.
7817.
Okay. Put that on here. Now somebody asked if doulas can deliver babies by themselves. With
Yes.
on that.
I also I also would like to share. Yes, I also would like to share that after this whole experience, I definitely know the importance of support during pregnancy, birthing, and even afterwards. So my husband and I are actually planning right now on building a birthing center somewhere around that crowd. We're looking for land, etc. So I'm going to need a whole lot of help, a whole lot of support to make this come true. Because the thing is, there's no woman, no mother in the world that will ever forget her birthing experience. And oftentimes people say, well, as long as the mother and the child are fine. But that's not all that matters. It's the whole experience that matters. You don't want to traumatize the mother or even the child. You want both of
Right.
them to be able to have a pleasant experience. So I make it my mission to helping women to empower women so that they know their rights, to also help them get a birth without pain. Well, if that's even possible, but I teach techniques so that women can control the pain, and Maryjane did very well. She's the living proof that it works. So basically, our plans are now to really build our own birthing center, start with one, and then have as many as we can, so that women don't have to be afraid of birth anymore, feel that they're alone, that they don't have support, or only have their husbands to talk to, because oftentimes the husbands are just as lost as the mother. So that's what we're working on right now. So people can follow me.
Mm.
They can contact me. I give consultations as well. So you're more than welcome.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, we definitely need those birthing centers, man. Thank you. So we got to figure out how to make that happen. 'Cause we don't. This should not have happened. This should not have happened the way it went down. So again, thank you, ladies, for your time today. Thank you, Maryjane, for telling your story, and I will make a trip to come see my boy. Hopefully this weekend. Okay, give him a kiss.
Okay, ma'am.
All
Yeah,
right,
I
all
shall
right,
do that. Thank you
okay.
very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
I'm super glad to have you. You're such a blessing to our lifetime, and we cannot forget that. We can trade that for nothing.
No,
We
thank you,
love
lady.
you.
Love you too. Love you too. All right, family. That's it for today. I hope this give you all something to think about. For those who are expecting or will plan to be here and to have children, so that you can prepare, so that your birthing experience can be one that is memorable for all the good reasons and not for things like this that happened to our sister Maryjane. So
And
with that being said,
I
mm-hmm,
want to thank Bobette. Bobette,
mm-hmm,
thank you so much for doing what you do. Um, I pray that the universe keep you in the right path, so that all what you wish for in doing this, to be more bigger than what it is right now,
mm-hmm.
happens. So thank you very much, and I want to also thank my beloved husband. Oh my God, that man is such a wonderful man. I
Okay.
really, I really appreciate him. I don't even know what I'll do without that man, because he said yes. You can go on, you can go on and talk to Bobette. If
Mm-hmm.
he had discouraged me, that's another story entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, he's very supportive. He's a good
Yes,
brother.
indeed, he is supportive,
Yeah.
and I appreciate him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. All right, Sister Bobette, anything in closing?
Yes, well, I would like to thank you, Sister Ya, not for the opportunity to talk about this birth, but just for everything you've done for my family and I. We have been in Ghana for 4 months. We've gotten our residency after 6 weeks. We are comfortable. We are living. We are alive. We're working. We're happy. We are at peace. And this wouldn't have happened if you weren't in the picture. So if you guys, the ones that are looking, you don't know Sister Ya yet, please look her up. If you have plans to come to Ghana, please go through her. Like, she's the real deal, and she never charges for anything. Maryjane is such a wonderful woman. She actually has an organization where she feeds children,
Mhm. Street children.
so
Yeah.
street children or people that are a little bit financially challenged, I should say. Yes, so please look out for what she's doing as well. And I definitely concur. Her husband is such an angel. I wish that every woman could have this type of support around her. And another reason why we're doing this birthing center is because I don't think people should leave Ghana to have a safe birth. I want it to be possible right here in Ghana. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. We should be able to stay here and have our babies here and get quality care. You're absolutely right. That's right. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Love you guys. Thanks for joining us today. And we'll be back soon with some more, informative information and what's going on, what's happening here on the ground in Ghana. Take care of yourselves. Love you guys. Bye, Brother Troy Joseph. I see your comments. Thank you, brother. All right, family. Take care. Bye bye.
Peace, peace.